Story time about my extremely toxic best friend. It is terrible how many of these story times I get in, because it just shows me all the different ways that people can be extremely toxic, and it's disgusting. So a little background information. When I was in 6th grade, my mom had signed me up for this summer camp. Well, a few weeks into summer camp, I had met my best friend, and we're gonna call her Jenna. Now, when I had first met her, Jenna was a super nice, down-to-earth girl, I guess for being in 6th grade at the time. But seriously, she was really nice. Like, she was the type of girl that when she saw somebody getting picked on, she would step in right away and totally just bash the person who is bullying somebody. So that was one of the things that I really liked about her. Guys, I might be back after I do my eyebrows because I don't think this is gonna work on camera. You know, I tried every time, and then we get to this part where I'm shaping them out and it just doesn't not freaking work. Like, does that even look good? Like, sis, what are you doing with your life? All right, I'll be back after I do my eyebrows. Okay, so I got a little carried away with my eyebrows, and I tried to do them how like the IG models do them now. What do y'all think? Anyways, overall, she was just really a nice, genuine person. Well, fast forward, we're in 8th grade, and we got to become like mini camp counselors. So pretty much meaning we would just follow the big kids around and kind of, you know, boss the little kids around whenever they weren't listening to the big kids. Well, there was also another mini camp counselor that I liked. We're gonna call him Brian. Now, we were all only in 7th grade, but I had a little crush on him. So what do? I told Jenna that I have a crush on him because, you know, she's my best friend. And Jenna says that she has a crush on him too. Like, sis, I'm sure. And at this camp, we had like a bus that would take us home, right? Well, we all had assigned seats on the bus. And we're all about to leave. It's like the last day of camp, I'm pretty sure. And Jenna decides to say that I smell weird. Yeah. So she calls one of the other camp counselors up to the back of the bus because we were sitting in the back. And she goes, hey, like, she really smells. Can I switch my seat? Like, really, dude? Like, so the camp counselor's like, well, I don't smell anything, but if you want to move, you can. And they were like, just go pick a seat. Where did she go pick a seat? Next to the mini camp counselor that I had a crush on. Like, what a jerk. Like, first, you pretty much say out loud in front of everybody that I smell on the bus, and then you go sit next to the guy that I told you I had a crush on. But that did not stop me from being best friends with her. So that's whenever I kind of realized that she was a hoe. The good thing is that her and I, we didn't go to the same school, so any guy that I liked at my school, I could pretty much just tell her about it and she would never know who it was. We lived 20 minutes away from each other, but she went to a private school, I went to a public school, so it pretty much worked out in my favor. Well, fast forward, I am a sophomore in high school and I get a boyfriend. Now, I tell her all about him because, like I said, they really never had a chance of meeting. I mean, they did, but like, it's not like he had a sign on his forehead saying that he was my boyfriend. So, you know, she's like, OMG, like, I really want to meet him, blah, 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 blah. Well, it was football season during the time, so I told her that we could go to one of his football games. Quick thing, before this, I had never had a boyfriend, so I knew that she was a hoe, but I also didn't think that she would go after my boyfriend if I had one. So, like I said yeah, and before the football game, I'm getting ready at my house and we're about to go pick her up, and the football game was Hawaiian themed, so I had asked her, what are you gonna wear for tonight? She tells me that she has one of her dad's like Hawaiian button-up shirts that she's gonna wear and a pair of jean shorts, which I was like, okay, sounds good, you know, I'll just wear the same thing. So we are pulling up to her house to go and get her. Well, when we pull up, this bitch walks out in a hula bra with her makeup done, her hair done, and this little mini skirt. So, you know, she gets in the car and we're driving and I'm texting her and I'm like, what happened to the outfit that you said you were gonna wear? Her response was, well, last minute I realized that this will be my first time meeting people in your school and I want to look presentable. Really, sis? Really? Clearly I knew that she was lying because nobody just has a fucking hula bra sitting around their house. And her mom had left for work at 4 and the game started at 7. So she had to went and got that before her mom left for work because she doesn't have a freaking driver's license. So yeah, she decided to do that. And the thing is that I always like went out for football games, you know, meaning I would put on like a really cool outfit, you know, to show some school spirit. So the only reason that I had wore that was because I didn't want her to feel awkward or lonely. So I was trying to be nice. By the way, I wore one of my freaking dad's button-up shirts and a pair of jean shorts because my dad had like a bunch of Hawaiian shirts from when we would go on vacation as like souvenirs. So like I said, I'm sitting there in this oversized ugly ass shirt and she's just looking cute in front of everybody. And then she asked me, OMG, like which one's your boyfriend? Because I had never even showed her a picture of my boyfriend. Like it got to the point where she thought I was lying about having a boyfriend because I would never show her a picture or anything. Like I was not risking it. So I really didn't want to tell her which one was my boyfriend because I already had a feeling that with everything that already happened throughout the night, she was just gonna be a hoe, even if it was my boyfriend or not. So she kept asking me which one he was and I'm like, I don't know, I can't see him right now, I don't have my glasses on. I did need glasses, so she was like, oh, okay. But then she made this fucking annoying ass comment that made me want to smack her. She goes, how do you not know your boyfriend's number? She was like, if that was my boyfriend, I would know his number by heart and I would be writing it on me every time that I went to a game. Like, yeah, sis, I do. Just not whenever you're with me. Low-key, I had contacts in, I just didn't tell her. So while she was mingling with people who were at the game, I was sitting there and I was just watching my boyfriend. Eventually she comes over to me and she's like, OMG, you won't believe how many guys gave me their phone number, blah 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 blah. Like we should start coming to your football games together more often. Even though I'm literally thinking to myself how bad of an idea this was and how I wish I would have never brought her. You know those times when you just know you made a mistake but you don't know until it's last minute? Yeah, this was one of those times. So I'm sitting there and I tell her, oh, like my mom's about to be here, we have to leave early, we can't stay. And she's like, oh, like are you sure? I can have my mom come and pick us up. I really want to see which one's your boyfriend. Which is just making me really pissed off at this point. So I just tell her that next time we come to the game we'll be able to stay later, but my brother has surgery in the morning so we have to leave early. No, my brother did not have surgery. Does that make me a bad person for saying it though? No. Girl was trying to steal my man. Bye, sis. So that's the end of that situation. And by the way, I never took her to another football game. She would actually just show up on her own to my school. She would actually just meet up with people that she met at the first football game and she would run into me and be like, OMG, I thought you weren't coming. Well, the one night I actually did not go to the football game because my mom needed me to watch my little brother. And while I'm watching him that night, I get a text from Jenna saying, OMG, I met your boyfriend. Yup. Yeah. And then I just get like a bunch of text messages after that one saying, why didn't you tell me? Like, he's so cute. I'm so happy for you. I talked to him for about like 20 minutes after the game. She was like, sorry, LOL. I just thought you were lying the whole time about having a boyfriend. But yeah, so apparently when she went to the game, she had started talking to a few guys that were actually his friends. And they had said that they had saw her with me at the first football game. And she was like, oh yeah, that's my best friend. And they were like, oh yeah, like she's dating my best friend too. And then after they pretty much tell her who my boyfriend is and stuff like that, and they point him out to her. So yeah, she ended up finding out who my boyfriend was. I was super pissed off about it, but what could I do? Nothing. So I get a bunch of FaceTime calls and stuff the next morning. I'm not really feeling like talking to her because of the fact that I know the conversation's gonna be all about my boyfriend. So I think like the day after, I hang out with my boyfriend and I'm like asking him like, oh, what did she say? Blah, 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 blah. He was like, to be honest, she's really weird and she was hitting on all of my friends. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, thank God she made an ass out of herself. Now he won't want to get with her, right? Wrong. Keep up with it, people. So a few months goes by, football season ended, so she really didn't have a reason to go to my school anymore or talk to the people who went to my school. And she would always ask to hang out with me and my boyfriend, but I always told her no, and that he thought she was a weird ass bitch. Well, summertime rolls around, and one of my boyfriend's friends is throwing a 4th of July party. So he asked me if I want to come. Of course I say yes. And then he also says, if you want to bring your best friend, you can. I'm so dumb. Still have to do my nose contour. So I give her the benefit of the doubt and I tell her about this party, but I tell her that her and I have to leave early because the kid's parents doesn't know that he's throwing a party. And I really didn't want to get caught for underage drinking because his neighbors were supposed to be keeping an eye on the house. So she says okay. And by the way, a little incident that had happened, you know how I told you that like whenever we would go out places and like, you know, I would ask what she's wearing? Well, I decided to see if like, you know, it was all in my head or she was actually just being a dick every time that she told me that she was gonna wear something. So the one time we had went out, and we didn't go with my boyfriend or anything like that, you know, so I wasn't really worried about impressing anybody, but I had asked her what she was wearing and she said that she was wearing a dress and heels. So I decided not to wear a dress and heels. I decided to go in a t-shirt and some running shorts. And we went to this place and everybody turned out to be dressed up nice. So I really didn't give a fuck about what she wore anymore. I would still ask her, but I would just wear what I wanted to wear. Well, the night of the party, I decided that I wasn't even gonna ask her. I'm just gonna do my own thing, and then my boyfriend will come and pick us up. And I would usually ask her what she's wearing, like maybe an hour or 30 minutes before something started, or before we were about to go somewhere. Well, once she realized that I hadn't asked her, she FaceTimed me and she's like, oh, what are you wearing? So I just told her that I was gonna wear shorts and a t-shirt, like it's nothing serious. If anything, we're gonna be getting muddy and stuff like that because my boyfriend's friend, he like had a whole field in the back of his yard and they would ride their dirt bikes and stuff like that. And he also had this above ground pool that everybody went in usually. So I just told her, bring a bathing suit because he has a pool there. And she was like, oh, so you think I probably shouldn't do my makeup? I was like, I mean, you can, but it's like 95 degrees outside. But do what you want, sis. Do what you want. So she's like, okay, thanks. Like, you know, just let me know whenever you guys are on your way. My boyfriend at the time had his license, so he was the one who was going to be coming and picking us up. So I'm all ready. I'm in my shorts, t-shirts, some tennis shoes, and I call my boyfriend and ask him where he is. And he was like, oh, well, like, I was just thinking I was going to pick up your friend first because she lives closer to me. Like, really? So what does he do? He goes and he picks up my best friend first. Fucking Jenna. I just like hate Jenna, but I didn't want to seem like a jealous, insecure girlfriend. So what did I do? I just told him to go and pick Jenna up first. Well, they pull up to my house, and when I walk outside to the car, I realized that Jenna decided to take the front seat next to my boyfriend. So like I said, I about had it with this bitch. So I walked up to the door, ripped open the door, and I was like, sit in the back. And she's just like looking at me like, oh, like what's wrong? Like, I'm sorry. So, you know, this girl's pretending that she's gonna get in the back seat whenever she says, wait, do I really have to? You know I hate the back seat. This was the first time that I had heard that she hated riding in the back seat. Also, she's wearing this tiny ass dress. She has a full face of makeup on. Her hair is all curled. It's like she wanted me to drag her out of that car. So what do I decide to do in this situation? I decide that I'm going to let her have the front seat. I won't be surprised if I go blind one day doing this. And the whole ride there, she's just chatting away to my boyfriend. And my boyfriend's trying to include me in the conversation, but every time that he would, you know, like say my name or something like that, she would interrupt him and be like, OMG, that's crazy because this blah, 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 blah happened to me, you know, like, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, bro, shut up. Like, for real, Jenna, fucking annoying. So we get there at around 8 and The plan was for my friend and I to leave at around 1 in the morning because my boyfriend was just going to spend the night and help his friend clean up in the morning. So, you know, during the party, I'm playing Pong with my boyfriend and his friends, and Jenna's just following my boyfriend and I around everywhere. And then when I told her to go talk to people, she was like, you know I'm shy. Whew, had to do my eyeliner off camera. Yeah, so she goes, you know I'm shy. No, you're not. You literally went to every single football game. You didn't need me, and you were talking to my boyfriend all in the car. So the party's dying down. It comes time to leave, and I tell Jenna, I'm like, hey Jenna, like my mom's waiting outside, like let's go. Well, Jenna decides that she doesn't want to leave the party. And my mom had already drove all the way out there, so she was going to be pissed if I told her that I was staying longer or that she had to go back home because she came out here for no reason. So I'm telling her, I'm like, Jenna, we can't stay longer. Like, we gotta go, sis. Mind you, do you remember what I said earlier? My boyfriend was supposed to spend the night there. Well, that got brought up in the car because Jenna had said, are you dropping us off at our houses too after? And he goes, no, I'm spending the night there. So yeah, no, she already knew that he was going to be spending the night. And she goes, you can't make me leave. Like, I'm staying. And I was like, but I thought you were shy. Why would you want to be around all these people that you don't know? She was like, well, I'm not shy anymore. I got used to everybody. Whatever, sis. So I say fuck it. I leave her there and I go home. So at around 3 in the morning, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV. I couldn't go to sleep yet because I was just so annoyed about the whole situation. And I get a FaceTime call from one of my other girlfriends, and she says that Jenna's freaking out. She took a hit off of the blunt. Like, will you please call her and calm her down? So I call her and I'm like, hey, you know, like you're fine. It doesn't last forever, blah, 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 you know, whatever you do in that situation. And I get off the phone. Well, she ends up spending the night there. Well, I end up going back there early in the morning because I forgot my purse. And when I walk in, I'm looking for Jenna because she's the one who had put our bag in some room. So I'm like checking all over the house for her and my boyfriend. And it's like 7 in the morning, I'm pretty sure. Because everybody like fell asleep in the living room. He had this big ass couch in the living room, you know, a few ottomans, a few love sacks everywhere, and I'm just like thinking, where could they be? So I'm going through the house, I'm searching through all the rooms, and I already have a bad feeling about this. So like 20 minutes goes past, I can't find them. My mom has to go because my brother's waiting in the car and she has to drop him off to school. So we leave, we take my brother to school, and then I ask her if we can stop back one more time so that way I could try and find my purse again. Tell me why, as soon as I walk in the house, I go to the kitchen and like everybody's like standing around the island or whatever. My boyfriend has his arm around Jenna and his neck is filled with hickeys. So I walk in unfazed and I'm like, Jenna, where the fuck is my purse? She's like, OMG, like I'm so sorry, like it's like on the couch. And I'm like, can you help me find it? So she comes in the living room to help me find my purse. And when we walk in there, I just tell her that she's a whore and that we can't be friends anymore. And she's like, OMG, why? And I'm like, dude, there's literally hickeys all over my boyfriend's neck. He has his arm around you. Like, there need to be boundaries whenever I let you hang out with my boyfriend. So she goes, those hickeys aren't for me, like what are you talking about? And then I call my boyfriend into the living room and everybody's low-key listening. Nobody just decides to come in the living room though. And I'm asking him, I'm like, who the fuck are those hickeys from? And he just looks at Jenna. So I end up walking out of the house. I break up with him. I block Jenna on Snapchat and everything like that. I block him. And to this day, this bitch still shows up at every single football game. I unblocked my ex-boyfriend a few months later. And she's always hanging out with him and his friends. So yeah, so just a little advice, guys, don't be afraid to set boundaries. At least that way you know that you set them, so that way you won't blame yourself whenever a dumbass people decide to fuck you over.
You've got the most beautiful diamond. You've got the most beautiful diamond's eyes I've ever seen in my whole life. The skyline is jealous, I'm looking at you, how you shine.
Story time of my traumatic BBL surgery and why I believe no one should get them. So around the time I was 18, I just graduated high school. I've always been very insecure about my body. I used to get teased because of it. My legs were like pencil thin and my stomach was like a balloon. I tried working out and building glutes, but they would never grow and my stubborn stomach fat wouldn't move. So for the rest of the year, I saved up and started searching for the cheapest doctors because I couldn't afford to get a BBL. So I came across this one website and the doctor was in Turkey. He did BBLs for as little as $3,000. So I asked my friend if she could come and I scheduled an appointment a few months later. Went through a consultation and all that. As the time get closer, I started to do my research and there's not many reviews, which should have been a red flag. When the time comes, we fly out, go to the office. The building said university and it almost looked like a school. I asked the receptionist about it and she said it was for doctors in training, which was an even bigger red flag, which I'll get into in part 2. Part 2 of my traumatic BBL surgery and why I believe no one should get them. I arrived, got prepped for surgery, they started marking me up so I know where the fat was being transferred. While they're doing this, there's students coming in watching, which by the way, they never informed me of. And at the time, I thought, well, that's what's supposed to happen and I never said anything. A couple minutes later, I go through with the surgery. After coming out is when I started regretting it. In the beginning, my body was exactly what I wanted it to be with the faja. But without it, my stomach looked wrinkly and my butt had dimples. I was scared, so I called to see what was wrong. They said after surgery, I was supposed to hire a person to do lymphatic massages on me. They never talked to me about it, but they said they put it inside of my discharge papers. I couldn't find one, so they recommended me to a person that did them for cheap. Reason being because she was a student and they never told me that. The massage was painful, which I expected. I got 5 massages before I left. When I got to the airport with my friend, as soon as I walked on the plane, I passed out, and I'll get part 3 of my traumatic BBL surgery and why I believe no one else should get them. After passing out at the airport, me and my friend were held back to wait 12 hours for the next flight. Luckily, we didn't have to pay, but we had to make multiple stops and sit next to strangers. I was in extreme pain even after taking the medication. When I got back home, I noticed my stomach was still wrinkly and my butt was pointy. I called my surgeon about it and he said it was because I wasn't getting enough massages. So I scheduled for multiple massages, more than what I really needed. The massages turned out to be more expensive than the actual BBL. After 3 months, my body still looked disformed. I cried about it and I constantly would call the surgeons just about every week. And I believe they got annoyed because they stopped answering all my calls. And I started to reach out to them through blocked numbers. After doing more research, I found out my doctor was still a student. No one was fully certified. In the time frame I got my surgery, the facility was getting sued for someone else who got a botched surgery. If you ever get a BBL, please do your research. Am I the asshole for stealing $10,000 from my best friend? So back in 2020, when the pandemic started, my best friend had got laid off from her job. Me, I kind of already worked from home, so as far as working, I never got laid off. Since she was out of work, she was trying to find new ways of making income, and one of them was starting a business. She wanted to start a nail business, which, by the way, this girl could not do nails. And this is no way to bash my friend. She just didn't have the patience to even do her own nails. It took her maybe like 3 months to develop her business, but once she had got it running, she started making a lot of money. And I was happy for her, but I was confused on how she was making money because I've never seen her, do anyone's nails. She said in order for me to understand her business, she's not going to give the ins and outs unless I were to join her. And I was like, cool, I guess we both can make money, which I'll explain in part 2. Part 2 of me stealing $10,000 from my best friend. So I joined her business. Mind you, I didn't know exactly what it was about. I just knew it had something to do with nails, and she made little small posts of nails. When I went to her house and saw her bedroom, she had a lot of press-on nails all over the place. So I was like, oh, she's selling press-on nails. That explains. She told me where she had got everything from, how she markets herself, just explains everything to me. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really great of what you done. I had asked her, how do I get started on? She was like, this business that she had started is a 6-figure business monthly, and that I would need to invest $10,000 into her business. And I was like, whoa, because $10,000 is what I've had saved up. But she had promised that she was making that amount of money, and she showed me her accounts. She literally said, girl, you can have $100K in your bank by next month. So of course I joined on, and I explained how she tricked me in part 3. Part 3 on how I stole $10,000 from my best friend. So after a month within joining, she said I would have to pay for some of the stock, which was okay, the marketing, the websites, and I also had to help her run, the pages for her business. Well, our business now. I remember when I first had joined on, she was saying like the business is going to be slow for just a few weeks. And I trusted her because that was my girl. And every month I just was still investing into her ads, still investing into promotion. On top of the $10,000, I was still investing more and more money. Give or take, literally after 6 months, we weren't getting barely any sales. And she said that she wanted me out of the business because she felt like I wasn't doing much. Mind you, I invested majority of the money. During the process of her wanting to kick me off, I begged her to keep me to stay. Black Friday and Christmas came up, and we started to get a whole bunch of sales, and we made a give or take over $30,000. Knowing that she wanted me to leave, I transferred the money from our business account to my account. Story time on how my homophobic boyfriend turned out to be actually gay. So my sophomore year of college is actually when I met my boyfriend, which by the way we're calling Justin. Justin had just transferred over and he was a junior. And before anyone comes at me for me being with a homophobic, well, at the time I didn't know he was, and I didn't exactly know what homophobic was. But anyway, back to our relationship, I met him at a Greek party. We talked, swapped numbers, and then the rest was history. Well, history for the next couple months. I would notice little small things in our relationship, like he never liked any of the guy friends I had, specifically the gay friends I had. He always had something to say about them regarding their sexuality. Not even that. There were times about how he would just randomly talk about how gay people are disgusting. And there was one time at this party where he got into a fight with one of my friends, who was, by the way, gay. And this is when I found out he was gay. I'm coming back for part 2. Part 2 on how I found out my homophobic boyfriend was gay. So, like I said, we were at a party and he got into it with one of my friends. Now, the whole situation started is when my friend wanted to go get me a drink. And by the way, we all came to the party together. And my boyfriend didn't like that. And he said that he would get it. My friend was like, no, it's cool. I got it. And then they just started bickering back and forth. Of course, my boyfriend was like, oh, you're not her man. You're a sissy. You're that, da-da-da-da-da. Just going all for him. And I was telling him to calm down. It's not that serious. And my friend left the area where we went to go get himself a drink, came back, and threw the drink on my boyfriend. And I was so confused because I thought he was trying to leave the situation alone. And my boyfriend got up and just immediately started going in on him. So they got into it, and my best friend was beat up real bad. When I got up and, tried to clean him off, my friend was like, oh, you need to go talk to your boyfriend about what happened last night. And I'm like, last night? Y'all come back for part 3 on how I found out my homophobic boyfriend was gay. So after their fight or whatever, my friend was messed up real bad. I picked him up, tried to help him out. And of course, I was upset about the whole situation. But my boyfriend really, blacked out on him, which I thought was, unnecessary. Anyways, my friend was really frustrated, was really irritated. And literally out of nowhere, he was like, tell her about last night. And I'm like, what happened last night? He was like, oh, since he want to talk about me being gay, talk about what you do. And I'm looking at him like, what? In my head, I'm still not thinking he's gay. I'm thinking maybe he cheated on me with some girl. But regardless, I still would be upset. And my friend was like, I'm sorry to tell you, but he was with me last night. And I'm looking and I'm like chuckling a little bit like, wait, huh? He's saying after the little arguments that we've been having in our relationship that he would go to my friend dorm room and they would be messing around. And my boyfriend, of course, the entire time, he's like, that's not true. He's lying. You gonna trust a sissy boy. Just story time on why I don't trust male doctors, specifically the ones that work with the female body. So the summer of 2020, a couple days before my sister's birthday trip to Miami, This might be TMI, but my vajayjay was tingling. It felt weird, but I ignored it. The next day, it was so painful that I couldn't even sit down. But I assumed that it was an ingrown hair because I would get them time to time. Anyways, later that night, I met up with my boyfriend to go to his house. As we were walking, he noticed that I was limping. I, of course, told him my whole situation about what was going on down there. He said, the pain is hurting to the point where you're limping. You should head to the hospital. So we went to the hospital immediately so I could find out what was going on. So we went to the hospital immediately so we could find out what was going on. And there were times of that night my boyfriend assumed that I had some type of STD, which wasn't the case. When the first doctor saw me and checked me out, they were so confused what was going on, so they brought in a different doctor. And I'll get into what exactly that doctor did to my body in part 2. Part 2 on why I do not trust male doctors, specifically the ones that work with the female body. So the second doctor came in and he told me to open up my legs. And this man immediately took 3 fingers and shoved it in. When I tell you that was the most painful experience I've ever had in my life, it was so painful. More painful than